what is already working for you. The biggest thing about scaling is that if you want to scale your business, I'd argue that you have to start with one offer. You want to have this core competency, this thing that you are known for.
Hey, my name is Jenna Kutcher, and I am obsessed with all things business, marketing, numbers, and helping you to navigate both the messy and the magical seasons of this thing called life. I'm a small town mama who took a $300 camera, grew a successful photo biz, and now I work from home and run a 7-figure online business. I teach you the tried and true secrets to building a career you adore. Shy away from the real talk? No way. Money, hardship, growth, loss, and marketing are all topics we discuss here. Think of this as your one-stop shop for happy hour with a gal pal mixed with business school. Pull up a seat, make sure you're cozy, and get ready to be challenged and encouraged while you learn. This is the Goal Digger Podcast.
Are you feeling ready to take your business to the next level, but you're worried about becoming a robot or sacrificing your sanity or worse, your soul in the process? Well, if so, you're in the right place. My podcast producer and I were going back and forth on the title of the show. And honestly, I felt strongly about saying the words, how to scale your business without losing your soul. Because in nearly 15 years of entrepreneurship, I have watched so many founders fail, so many people quit, and worse, so many entrepreneurs build businesses that they hate or businesses that take over their lives. You see, scaling a business isn't just about numbers and profit margins, though we will talk about those, and those are important too. It's about preserving what makes your business unique, what makes it you, what brings you joy. It's about staying true to your values, your mission, and your passion while you grow and expand, and doing it in a sustainable way that gives you life and doesn't take it over. In today's episode, I'm going to break down what you can start doing right now if you want to scale your business authentically and sustainably without losing sight of what truly matters. We're going to talk about whether your business currently is scalable, different strategies you can implement, systems and processes you should consider, and how to uphold your core values as you expand your reach, your impact, and your revenue. Whether you're just starting out and dreaming of the day that you'll scale, or you're already knee-deep in growth and looking for ways to stay grounded, this episode is packed with inspiration and practical advice that you can apply to your own journey. Let's dive into today's conversation and discover how you can scale your business without losing your soul. Are you ready? Let's do this. More to-dos, less time, and an infinite number of tools to keep track of. Goal diggers, you ever feel like doing business has never felt harder? Well, the good news is you don't need a miracle to hit your goals. You just need HubSpot. Their all-in-one customer platform can make growing your business so much easier. Imagine this: high-quality leads, fast-closing deals, wildly happy customers, and more benchmark-breaking quarters. It's not a miracle, it's HubSpot. Visit HubSpot.com to get started today. That's HubSpot.com. To kick things off, I think it's really smart if we start with just determining if your current business or your business idea is scalable or if it's in a place to scale. To assess if your business is truly scalable, I want for you to ask yourself this key question. Can you increase your revenue without a proportional increase in your workload? So if the only way to make more money is by working more hours, then that likely tells us that your business isn't scalable in its current form. So for example, when I was a wedding photographer, I had a few options in terms of scaling. So the first option was if I wanted to make more money, I had to book more weddings, which I did. The first year I shot 25 weddings, then I went to 27 weddings, then I went to 30 weddings, and I scaled my business to 6 figures. But honestly, that was when I hit burnout. That's when I realized I do not have the human capacity to do more weddings. So my ability to scale and my ability to make more revenue is capped at my human potential, which at the time was very drained. So my second option, being a service-based entrepreneur, was to get an associate photographer to shoot for me. And I actually did that for a few years. So basically I could book weddings and someone on my team could also book weddings under me and my brand. And that was a really interesting way to scale my business, and it worked really well. But the truth was that while both of these methods scaled the business, there was always this ceiling, this cap to what was possible. Each option also ended up bringing on more work and more time involved in the business. And so while my revenue did increase, it wasn't necessarily without added effort. So I wouldn't necessarily call it scaling. It was more of an expansion. That was when I really started to consider and think about different business models that were truly scalable. A lot of people don't know this, but way back in the day, and if you've read my book, How Are You Really, you will know this, I actually started a watercolor print shop. It's kind of a long story, but in my season of burnout, after that season of 30 weddings in a 6-month period, I started painting just for pleasure. I would literally sit down at my table overlooking a cornfield in Wisconsin and every day set a timer and just paint for 20 minutes. I needed time away from my screen. I needed to feel creative again. I needed to kind of flex different muscles. And I started just painting for the fun of it, but then I started sharing my paintings online. Then people started asking if they could buy them. And this was my first entry point into a scalable business. And so what I discovered was I could create a watercolor print. I could scan it using our printer. I could upload it to a website, and then that website could sell prints. They could also sell mugs and cell phone cases and all different kinds of products with my watercolor designs on them. But the amazing thing is that I could create that print once and sell it 10, 20, 100 times without extra effort on my part. And once I got a taste of what a truly scalable business was, meaning creating something once and serving it to many without that much effort on the back end, I was hooked. Like my whole mind started changing of like, how can I get more of this in my life? So if you are someone who is either recognizing that your current business or your business idea isn't scalable to the point that you want it to be, or you are someone who has never considered additional revenue streams that are more on the passive front, and I don't say fully passive because I don't really think any business is fully passive, but more on the passive front, then these are some questions that you should ask yourself just to kind of assess, like, is this actually scalable? So the first question is, can I increase sales without a significant increase in costs or time? So if your revenue can grow without a proportional rise in expenses or working hours, then your business has scaling potential. The second question is there a large enough market demand for my product or service? So if there is a growing market with ample customers who need what you offer, then again, you have this potential to scale. And then the third question is, do I have systems in place to handle growth efficiently? So if you have or can implement streamlined processes, technology, and a reliable team, your business is more likely to scale successfully. And we're going to walk through what all of this means as we continue. These questions provide a quick litmus test for scalability, which can then help you identify whether your business can grow sustainably and whether it is actually scalable. So the first thing that we want to really think about, and I want for you to either think about your current business or a business idea that does pass the scalability test, is that you want to start looking for opportunities to automate. And I am like the queen of simplification and automation. Like anything that can be automated and set it and forget it, like that is my life. Like I should be on one of those crockpot infomercials where they do the like set it and forget it, because that is what I love. So automation is just magic. It feels like Hogwarts magic in so many ways as a business owner, because it allows you to do different processes without even thinking about it, right? Like there are so many things in our lives and businesses that we are constantly doing over and over and over again. And there are likely ways that we can automate. So we want to be looking for automation opportunities. We also want to look at ways that we can streamline and simplify operations. I think a lot of times complexity is the killer of ideas, of businesses, of our brainwaves. When we add in too much complexity, we start to stumble. We start to feel like analysis paralysis, and we don't actually start to move forward. And so looking for ways to simplify and streamline is another really good trait to have when we're talking about scaling. And then lastly, leveraging technology. It is just amazing. Even when I think about my journey as an entrepreneur over the last 14 years, thinking about the ways that technology has changed and the way that technology can almost come aboard our teams as assistants and team members and do a lot of the work for us. I think that we have to embrace that, especially if you want to have a business that scales. So when we start to look at this, again, we want to keep in mind that a scalable business should grow in revenue while maintaining or even reducing the amount of time and effort required. So when I think about scalable businesses, I think about a lot of intentional work on the front end to reap the rewards and the results on the back end. I've often shared this story, and I'm just going to share it quickly right now because I think it's just really powerful and just an illustration. But when we were going through the process of growing our family, I experienced 2 back-to-back miscarriages over a 2-year time span. And at the time, I was solely a wedding photographer, and I was basically trying to plan pregnancies around my wedding season. My work was really condensed to this 6-month period. And so I was thinking, okay, I need to get pregnant between these 2 months so that I'm over the first trimester by this point, that I can still shoot all the way through, then I can have the baby. Like, it was just crazy, like how I was basically planning my life and my family around my work. And now, hindsight, I can see how backwards that was, but that was the stage that I was in. And I'll never forget when I got the news of our second loss and that there was no longer a heartbeat, but my body was still carrying the pregnancy. I literally had to show up and shoot a wedding the next day. And this was when my grief hit like full force. With my first loss, I was able to just really feel this piece of like, I meant to like share this and help like ruin the stigma around it and just, share our story to help other people feel less alone. But when the second one hit, I was just angry. I was so sad. I was so frustrated. I was scared. And yet here I am showing up to shoot a wedding. And I will never forget that day and that season of life where I was like, I have to figure out a different way. There has to be a better way, because if I don't show up, I don't get paid. And I've built this really successful business that I'm incredibly proud of, but it's also scary that it relies on me, that I can't have a human moment, that if I don't show up and I don't shoot, I don't get paid. And like, that was when I really vowed to start to learn different ways of doing business, different ways to create more scalable, more passive opportunities for me and my family so that I can have a life and that I can be a human. And God forbid I need to grieve, I can grieve in peace without feeling like I need to put on a happy face and show up. And so we want to keep in mind as we talk through this episode to remember that a scalable business can grow while maintaining or reducing the amount of time and effort required. My business is the biggest it's ever been, and I'm working the least amount possible, but that doesn't happen overnight, right? That happens over time and with a lot of intention. So the first thing that we really want to dig into that we already started talking about is just how to automate and optimize processes. And so the first thing I want for you to consider is like, what is already working for you? The biggest thing about scaling is that if you want to scale your business, I'd argue that you have to start with one offer. You want to have this core competency, this thing that you are known for. So for me, it was wedding photography. I wasn't shooting seniors and families and babies and grads. Like, I was all in on wedding photography. And when you look at a lot of the multi-passionate entrepreneurs out there, they started with one core offer, one thing that they were known for, one thing that their brand was built around. Pareto's principle is generally true for many small businesses in that 80% of your results generally come from 20% of your offers. And so regardless, when we're talking about scaling, I want us to first start with like one offer. I think a lot of times we get too many pots on the fire and then none of it works. And we're like, hey, this just doesn't work for me, but we're not actually focused. And so I think it's really important to focus on like one core offer. And for me, when I really started understanding scalability and more passive revenue, my one core offer was a course for photographers. It was called the Photo Lab. And that was that thing where I put in a ton of work on the front end in creating it. But once I created it, I recognized I had a core offer that I created once, but that could serve many. That was like my first dipping my toes in a truly scalable business. So as you look at your offer, my question for you is like, where is time being spent, and are there opportunities for you to automate or optimize the process, eliminating time and friction for both you and the client or the recipient? I will never forget. It was December 31st. It was years ago. And I was still using very archaic systems as a wedding photographer. I was the kind of person who I would send somebody a contract. They needed to print it out. God forbid. I mean, who even has a printer with ink in it these days? They would have to fill out their contract. They would mail it using the postal service. They would send in their deposit. I would store the contract in a file that I had in my office. And funny fact, I still have all of those files. Like I should just digitize it and get rid of it, but I just can't throw it away. And so I was like operating from this archaic system that I had created that was working without recognizing, okay, wait, there's like a way simpler way to do this. So I will never forget December 31st. It's about to become a new year. I wanted to spend some money to get some more tax write-offs. And I signed up for HoneyBook. And HoneyBook was like new to the scene at the time, but HoneyBook is still to this day what we use to send contracts, to get deposits, to collect payments from different contractors or different things that we're working on. And so it's wild because HoneyBook has like grown with us and changed with our business. But I will never forget signing up for that and recognizing, oh my goodness, I have been doing this the hard way for years. I've been making it hard for my clients. I have been taking up unnecessary time. There are ways that I can automate different parts of this process, make it so much easier for me, so much better for my client. And that was like the first dipping the toe in of like seeing that tech can become an assistant, can become a partner in the process. By the way, if you want to check out HoneyBook and how we use it in my business, go to jennakutcher.com/HoneyBook. I have an amazing offer for our audience. But again, this is like what we're using to this day to send out podcast contracts, to collect payments with different partners. Like we love HoneyBook, and you can build in different systems so that you can create these workflows once. So say if I was still a wedding photographer, I could say the week before someone's wedding, send them this email. Make sure that we have this contract on file. Make sure that they have all their payments. It sends payment reminders for you so you don't have to be the annoying person saying like, hey, just a reminder, your payment is due. It's amazing. Anyways, this is the first thing to really look at is like, what can you automate and what can you optimize? If you have not done a time audit lately, I highly encourage you to spend an entire week and just track your time. A lot of times I'll do this with my team where I'll say, spend the next week tracking your time and let's just look at inefficiencies, areas that we could improve, or places that we could potentially invite tech in to help us out, to streamline things and to get us away from having to do these repetitive tasks that are taking up unnecessary time. So a few different tips would be identify tasks that can be automated to save time and reduce errors. Regularly review and update processes to ensure that you are remaining efficient, and consistently look for opportunities to automate or optimize. Basically stated, if you are doing something more than once, you should either have a template or you should look into how it can be automated. Another example of how we do this in my current business is that we use a program called Monday.com. It is our favorite. It is a project management software. It is beautiful. I literally always have a tab of it open. I could not do my job or run my business without Monday.com. And Monday allows us to create different templates and workflows and create these repeatable, trackable systems for literally everything we're doing in my business. So whether it is a course launch, we have an entire template built out of this needs to happen and this is when it's going to happen and this is who's doing it, to even like my weekly to-do list. Like I can see exactly what I need to be working on in my business. My team can see where I'm at with it. I can ping people in it, send them messages, go back and forth. We can store documents. I literally just sent off a video to one of my team members in a task. That way everybody has it. It reduces that back and forth communication. So we love Monday.com. If you want to check them out, go to jennalovesmonday.com. But it is the best project management software, in my opinion. We've used a bunch of different ones, and it's also just like visually beautiful. I think a lot of project management softwares are really ugly, and that really hinders my game.
I will never forget an anniversary trip that Drew and I took years ago where we drove the Pacific Coast Highway from LA to San Francisco. And I was so excited because I was in charge of booking the Airbnbs for the trip. And after looking through all of our options, I found the one. Found this farmhouse where we could rent out a room and wake up and collect our own eggs for breakfast in the morning, feed their alpacas, and play with their goats. When we arrived at this Airbnb, the hosts were there waiting for us with a chilled bottle of wine. They showed us our room and bathroom, and then they gave us a tour of their farm. Now, looking back, that trip planted a seed for us to dream about owning our own rental property and not overcomplicating the process. Since then, we've become real estate lovers and super hosts on Airbnb, and honestly, it is one of my favorite parts of my job. Now, something that people don't realize is that you don't necessarily need an investment property to do this. You can create an Airbnb revenue stream from your own home or even host a single room in your house. Your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much at airbnb.com/host.
A few years ago, my LinkedIn profile was dormant, and now I am amazed at the meaningful connections and opportunities on the platform. LinkedIn ads gives you the power to connect with your ideal customers and create meaningful relationships that drive real results. With 1 billion members, including 180 million senior level executives and 10 million C-level executives, LinkedIn gives direct access to decision makers in a respectful environment. With LinkedIn ads, you get results plain and simple. They've built targeting and measurement tools specifically for B2B. It's no wonder 79% of B2B content marketers say LinkedIn produces the best results for paid media. For business-to-business marketers, LinkedIn is the sharpest blade in the Swiss Army knife of social media. When you think about it, Instagram and Facebook are where people just want to have fun. But LinkedIn users are actively making professional decisions. They're looking to buy, so they're open to business discussions and connections. And also, LinkedIn is super welcoming for direct messages. On Instagram, sending DMs can send off an intruder alert, but people on LinkedIn expect and even appreciate professional outreach. I guarantee there is no better platform to spend your B2B ad budget. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit on your next campaign. Head to linkedin.com/goal to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/goal. Terms and conditions apply. Okay. The second thing to consider, especially if you're looking to scale and not lose your soul in the process, is to not do it alone and to look at who needs to be on your team in order to help you scale and how can you invest in them in their development. Now, I would argue that if you are looking to scale, you need to be willing to invest in growing your team with the key players that you need. This is something that held me back for years upon years, because while I was literally white knuckling my business, there were people that would have been able to come in and help me and to get it to a better, more scalable place faster and more efficiently. And what's interesting is, and a lot of people, I think this is one of our biggest hangups on it, is that a lot of times scaling will bring more complexity at first. I think there are so many people out there that are doing a disservice to this notion of scaling or up-leveling your business because they're posting, what they're making week after week, but they're not actually sharing how do you get there and what does it actually look like up front. And up front, I would argue it's a lot of work and it's a lot of strategy. But again, if you want to reap those long-term results, then it is absolutely worth it. And so when we think about hiring team members or training in team members, yes, it does add in complexity and it does take up time at first, but in the long run, it is going to save you so much more time. And what's so interesting is when I look at my team, I can very easily connect the dots to what I am paying that team member and how that is helping us earn more revenue. And if I can't do that, I'm likely not going to hire somebody. And so when you get the right players in the right positions, it's so easy to legitimize what you are paying them because you can see the clear line from point A to point B that is going to allow you to make more money off of what efforts they are bringing to the table. So here's a good example of back when I was still a wedding photographer. I will never forget. I invested in this workshop. Someone was like selling their ticket last minute. I went to this photography workshop. I'd never been to anything like it. It was a husband and wife team that was hosting it. And I remember they were talking about business and they were talking about how they outsource their editing. And at the time I was like, I could never. Editing is a part of my art. It is a part of my process. It is why people hire me. It's not just about the photos. It's the editing. It's the whole package. Good for you, not for me, is basically how I left that workshop. And guess what? A few years later, when I found myself tethered to my computer every single hour of the week, only to shoot another wedding on the weekend, get more backlogged, be editing like a crazy person to stay caught up, I recognized, wait, they might be onto something. I did the math and I recognized I could pay somebody $200 to edit an entire wedding. and save myself 30 hours a week. What could I do in those 30 hours beyond just like living and enjoying life? I could do one extra shoot and pay for that editor. I could work on my marketing to book more clients. I could streamline my processes. And the cool part is that I didn't just outsource all of my editing. I kept the parts that I loved because I still to this day love editing images, but I outsourced the stuff that I didn't love, which at the time was like cocktail hour and dancing photos and family portraits. Somebody that I hired loved editing all of that, and they did it. And the best part is that it got my clients their images back faster. Never once did I have somebody say, wait, did you edit this photo personally? Never once did I have a client notice any difference between my editing and my editor's editing. And it saved me so many hours. It got me back my life. And that was where I first started to see the power in not just outsourcing, but having a team member to do some of the tasks that, yes, you can do, but you should not be doing, right? You are better poised in different positions. For me, it was better for me to be actually taking the pictures or marketing my services than sitting there and editing every single photo bit by bit by bit. Another example of this in my current business was, 5 years ago, I had this similar business to what I have today, but I came back from maternity leave and I was just so overwhelmed. I did not have a single person in ops or like project management. And so basically what that meant was my entire team would come to me for everything. When they had a question, they would come to me. When they needed direction, they would come to me. When they needed approvals, they would come to me. When they needed reviews, they would come to me. And I remember coming back from maternity leave, holding this teeny tiny little baby and wondering, okay, I know there's so much that I need to be doing right now. I don't even know what I need to be doing. And then just feeling like I was chasing my tail day after day because everyone is coming directly to me. And that was when I hired Marissa, who is basically like the VP of my company now. But I hired her as an integrator, which allowed me to be the visionary to kind of cast the vision of the business, but allowed her to be more in the weeds, in the nitty gritty with the team so that the team would go to her before anyone came to me. And I cannot tell you how deeply impactful getting somebody in that position was, because it freed me up from all of the questions, all of the Slacks, all of the emails to get to a place to really cast a vision of like, here's where the business is going and here's what we need to work on and here's the strategy that we need to implement. And so getting that one person in place changed my life, changed my business. And there's tons of episodes where me and Marissa talk about, the role she plays and the role I play and how we work together. And so definitely check them out on the podcast. But it's been amazing because it allows me to kind of stay in the places where I shine. And I think that if you truly want to scale your business, you have to get really clear about what your core competencies are and who are the key players that will help keep you in the places where only you can serve. Another thing that I want to bring up in this idea of investing in employees and employee development is being willing to have tough conversations. I think it's really easy because for a lot of us as founders, we have played every role in our business at some point. Therefore, it sometimes feels easier for us to just hop in and fix things or hop in and direct. Or if we see somebody going off course, like, oh, don't worry, I can just fix it myself. And so if you are interested in scaling or you want to get to a more passive place in your business, you have to be able to teach your team what they need to know. You need to be able to have hard conversations, even when they're uncomfortable. And you need to be able to guide and release, like loosen the grip. CEOs that have their white knuckle approach to business are likely not going to scale well or fast because they are trying to control everything. And so you want to hire people who understand the world you're in with the business that you have and who have experience in the role that you want them to play. You want to let them experiment and try new things to see if there are any other opportunities or places that you can be scaling. And then again, you want to trust and relinquish some of the control and allow people to make mistakes, to test things out, and to not hold them back from their creativity. There has definitely been times in my business where I've hired people that maybe weren't quite equipped for the role they're in. But nowadays we are looking for people who have experience, who know this business, who can kind of hit the ground running. And we're willing to pay more for those people because we just see that that shortened runway allows us to just move faster and with more ease and less resistance. The next thing that you want to focus on is your core competencies. So remember at the beginning of this episode where I said, I really think that you need to figure out how to scale one offer. This goes back to that. Something that I think might surprise you. Did you know that I have not created a new course or a new offer since 2020? And that offer was like a micro offer. I haven't really created a new offer in probably 5 or 6 years. In those years, I have had the same offer suite, and I have opted to focus on making my current products better instead of spending so much time and energy on creating new ones. I basically kind of stayed in my lane, so to speak, and I've stuck to what I've known for. And if anything, I've actually eliminated old offers that no longer fit my business, my brand, or my clientele so that I can just laser in on here's what I know and here's what I'm really good at. I don't need to constantly be creating new things to stay good or relevant. I need to double down on my core competencies and what is already working. And so one of the things that we've really looked at is like, we don't want to go wide as a business. We want to go deep. And I found that if you want to scale, going deep is the only way to scale. When you go wide, you have diluted focus, you have diluted attention, you're also going to get diluted results. And so if you really want to scale your business, I would say start with one offer that is scalable. Once you see how you scaled it and get it to a place where it is optimized and strategized, then you can move to the next offer. And that's kind of what we've done over the years. But I think that so many entrepreneurs have shiny object syndrome, or they get sick of their own offers and they start working on new offers because it feels new and exciting. When in reality, if you really want to scale, you want to focus on a really solid offer that's already gotten you results, and then look at how can you go deeper and not wider with it. So here are some things that you should think about. Yes, you can do a million things, but are you doing what you should be doing? So looking at opportunities to outsource. So even things like accounting or bookkeeping, areas where you are not the genius. And yes, you might be able to get by on it, but how can you get those things off of your plate so that you can really focus on going deep? If you are someone who maybe stinks at content creation or ideation, could you delegate social media management or different marketing strategies to a firm or an agency that understands your business and what you're trying to do? And another thing that you can consider is having freelancers in areas that you don't need full-time employees. Maybe it's like graphic design or web design or content writing, where they can help support the business, but you don't have that consistent payroll or that feeling of like, okay, how are we going to move the needle enough to legitimize this hire? So tips here include regularly assessing which tasks are critical for your business success and what areas you need to be in, and then using performance metrics to determine the effectiveness of the outsourcing. So again, it is very easy for us to legitimize outsourcing at this stage of the game because we can connect the dots of any of the things that we're doing. Here's how this is going to make us more money. And if you're not at that point yet, I would argue that you're not ready to scale, because in order to scale, you have to be very clear on your numbers so that you understand if what you're doing is working.
I'll never forget when I got my first online course idea. I was so excited about the content, but I was so worried and overwhelmed with how to create it and where to host it and how do I let my students log in. But then I discovered Kajabi and everything clicked into place. Kajabi is the ultimate all-in-one platform that helps you build awesome online businesses and make steady, predictable revenue. I love it so much, I have been using it for a decade, and it has only gotten better over time. You can take all of your amazing skills, passions, and experiences and transform them into empowering online courses, membership sites, subscription podcasts, fun communities, personalized coaching, and so much more. Kajabi doesn't take a single cent of your revenue. That's right. You get to keep 100% of what you earn because everything is owned and controlled by you. With Kajabi, you get all the tools you need in one spot: detailed analytics, easy ways to get paid, awesome email marketing tools, and customizable website templates. And guess what? You don't even need to have a massive audience to make a sustainable income. Thousands of creators on Kajabi are making 6 and 7 figures with fewer than 50,000 followers. So if you are a one-person show needing a helping hand, Kajabi is your secret weapon. Right now, Kajabi is offering a free 30-day trial to start your business if you go to kajabi.com/goal. That's KAJABI.com/goal. Visit kajabi.com/goal to join the creators and entrepreneurs who have made over $7 billion. Let's talk real life for a sec. Okay, you know those marathon work days where you're hustling from one meeting to the next, and by the time you go to grab a coffee with a client or hug your partner, you're wondering if your deodorant is still going strong? Yeah, we've all been there. Luckily, Lumi Whole Body Deodorant is making sure we never have to worry about BO again. Unlike other deodorants, Lumi uses mandelic acid to stop odor before it starts, giving you up to 72 hours of odor control. Lumi was actually created by an OBGYN who saw how common BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. Now, fast forward 6 years, and it has over 300,000 five-star reviews. What I love about Lumi is that it's safe to use anywhere on your body, your pits, feet, underboobs, thigh folds, and even those sensitive areas. As someone who loves to work up a sweat and spends time in the sauna daily, I need something that will keep up with me. Lumi's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like a mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 15% off all Lumi products with our exclusive code. And if you combine the 15% off with the already discounted starter pack, that equals over 40% off of their starter pack. Use the code GOLDDIGGER for 15% off your first purchase at lumideodorant.com. That's code GOLDDIGGER at LUMEDEODORANT.com.
Number 4, an amazing way to scale is through building strategic partnerships. So I love affiliate marketing. I've talked about it a ton on this show. There are some really great episodes about affiliate marketing. We drive a ton of results with strategic partners. And one of the reasons why I love this is because if you think of what I just talked about, that we have not created a new offer in about 5 years, it allows us to promote offers that we love, that we've gotten results with, or that we want our audience to enjoy without us having to create them. I'm probably not going to go out and create a skincare line, but I love the skincare that I use. That's why I talk about Primally Pure. I don't need to go create a competitor to them. I can just send my audience to them because I use them. I love them. It has transformed my skin. Same thing with Tonic Site Shop, who is the website templates that we use within our business. I am not a web designer, so I can send people to my web designer because they always ask, where did you get your website? Tonic Site Shop. And so what's amazing about having strategic partnerships is if you are looking to scale, a lot of times it's a more scalable method because it doesn't necessarily require more of our team. We get to focus on the marketing of the offer while the partner gets to focus on the deliverables, the customer service, the marketing around it. And so all we have to do is get people into that ecosystem, and then we trust our partners to take care of them. And so this is a much more scalable approach because as you can see, we get to focus on the front end without adding a lot more time and work on the back end. We get to connect people with the things that we love, and then the partners do the rest. Now, you might be shocked to know this, but about 25% of our year-to-date revenue has come from partnerships alone. And so this is a huge way that we drive revenue and a huge way that we look for scaling opportunities, again, because we see that it's not going to require a ton of effort from our team on the back end. And I think that can save us. One of the other things that we can consider, and maybe something you can consider, is a way to scale your results is by bringing on partners. So we just talked about the side of us being a partner to companies that we use and love, but have you considered bringing on partners? So we have had so many people over the years ask if they can affiliate for our products. They are our students or they've loved our programs and they want to share about them. And we have consistently just said no. It just hasn't been a fit. I don't want to have to control someone else's marketing. I don't want to have to be reporting to partners all the time. If you do a launch and you have a bunch of affiliates, it's basically like you're doing 2 launches at the same time because you're serving your audience and you're serving your affiliates' audiences. It can get a little complicated. I am the queen of simplicity. And so I have said no year after year. But this year we actually took on just a few key affiliates for one of our launches, and it made a huge difference. It helped us have the best launch we've ever had in our business, a 7-figure launch. And it was also a lot of fun because we had the right partners on. And so an amazing way to scale is if you feel like you've kind of tapped out your audience on your offer, but you know you have an offer that converts, potentially consider bringing on people that can partner and share about your offer and doing a commission split with them. That is a really great way to scale if you have an offer that, again, is something you've created once that can serve many without a heavy lift on your part. If you do go this route, I want for you to think about choosing partners whose values and target audience align with yours and clearly defining the goals and the expectations of the partnership. So again, you want to work with people that you love, people that you trust, people whose audience is excited about what you've got. And this can be an awesome way to scale your business without you having to get out there and market. So if marketing isn't your strong suit, or you're kind of done marketing to your audience and you want to reach other audiences, bringing on partners is a great thing. So looking at this from both angles, you can be the affiliate for other brands and people that you love, or you can bring on affiliates for your own products, services, or offers. The last thing that I want for you to consider about scaling is thinking about sustainable growth practices. So we want to think about how to scale sustainably. I've said this recently on the podcast, but I think it is worth saying again. A lot of times hustle is required to get the dream off the ground. But if hustling is the only way that the dream is sustained, I would argue that it's not the dream. And so when we think about scaling our business without losing our soul, we have to really look at how can we do this in a very thoughtful manner that honors our values, that keeps the passion alive, that doesn't burn ourselves or our teams out, and that helps us to scale responsibly. And so what is your vision? What is the main goal? Where are you going to start and how do you want to get there? Getting really clear on that. One thing that I think is really interesting that I'm really, truly enjoying is when I mapped out this year at a glance, I decided I don't want to do any launches in the summer. My kids are home. I want to be with them. I know other parents are busy. I want this summer to be like a summer of joy. And oh my gosh, it just feels so different. And so we had kind of a front loaded year and we're going to kind of have a back loaded year, but we have about 150 days where we are not launching any of our own products. And one of the things that I am loving about this time and recognizing in this time is that because we are out of the weeds on launching, we are getting so much more strategic in the work that we're doing. We're working in a very methodical way behind the scenes, doing a lot of work that isn't necessarily shiny or that people won't necessarily see, but we will feel the results. It reminds me a lot of when 2020 hit and the world shut down. Everyone started panicking. Everyone was online trying to sell different things. Like, I think everyone was just trying to figure out, what is this going to be? How long is it going to last? And one of the smartest things we did during that time is we focused on a lot of the nitty gritty things. We focused on search engine optimization. We focused on lead generation, getting more people onto our email list. We focused on our freebies. We focused on lower price, more accessible offers. And so we started really just looking at like, okay, what are things that are already working and how can we put gasoline on the fire? And I think that a lot of times we're so focused on selling that we're forgetting all the steps and stages that come from before selling. And so right now, this summer, we're working on these massive projects behind the scenes on updating our free resources. Oh my gosh, they are so good. On optimizing our landing pages, on looking at our sales pages, on just looking at all of the things that are working, but how can we make them better? How can we make them easier? How can we make the process more fun for the person in it? And so I am loving it. And I can already anticipate recording an episode of like how we made more money without launching, because I can feel that the things that we're working on are super intentional and meaningful, but these are things we didn't have time for when we were actively launching. And so I wonder, when we look at how to grow sustainably, if we look at pausing the really outward efforts to go more inward, to go deeper in your own business, and to make sure that every piece of the puzzle is working for you, working with you, so that again, as you are scaling, you're not finding all these broken pieces or broken links or, broken processes that aren't actually working, where you're just constantly in fixing mode, but you're able to be in a more strategic and poised position. Another thing to point out here is that something that is said often behind closed doors with a bunch of the business leaders that you probably know and love is that if you want to double your profits, you need to double your email list. That's plain and simple. That is the one metric that we are looking at, that we are using to measure the health of our business. And so if you have not spent time to really focus on an email list, to start an email list, or to look at the growth and optimization of your email list, you need to go sign up for my free training right now. Go to growanemaillist.com. I will show you how to go from 0 subscribers or 0 strategies to an engaged email list that lasts. But I will argue that lead generation, meaning new email subscribers and serving those leads well with an email list, is the best and easiest way to scale a company. And that is what we're looking at. How are we getting in more leads? How are we serving those leads well? And how are we leading them on the path to purchase? And that's how we do it sustainably, because again, we can create these email sequences and these funnels and these freebies once, and they can serve many people for a long time on autopilot. And I would argue that is like the secret to scaling sustainably. I don't want for you to grow this business and be rich in your bank account, but be bankrupt in your life or in your relationships or in your time. I have said time and time again that time is our currency. And so if you want to scale your business, I want for you to get really honest about why and what that means for you and what that will look like for you and how that will change your life. But then I want for you to take the tips that we talked about today to really look at how can we automate and optimize? How can we get the right key players in their place? How can we focus on our core competencies, what we are really good at? How can we build strategic partnerships that serve us and our business and our customers? And how can we grow sustainably at a peaceful pace? Slow growth equals deep roots. Do not forget that. Now, I think the biggest thing I want for you to take away from this episode is that growth isn't just about getting bigger. It's about getting better. It's about creating a business that not only thrives financially, but also uplifts everyone that it touches, from your team members to your clients, to your family, to you and beyond. As we close out this conversation, keep in mind that small changes and some of those nitty-gritty boring things can lead to big transformations and results. So ask yourself, what is one thing you can implement in your business today that will set you up for success down the road? Maybe it's reaching out to that brand that you would love to work with. Maybe it's starting a free trial with HoneyBook to start automating your processes. Maybe it's looking at how can I go deeper on what is already working instead of going wider. But my goal for you today is to take action so that you can get the results that you want in the future. Just know that I'll be with you every step of the way. Until next time, goal diggers, keep on digging your biggest goals and trust me that you can do all of this without losing your soul in the process.
I'm over here giving you a virtual high five because you just finished another episode of the Goal Digger podcast. Did that go by way too fast for anyone else? If you want more, head over to goaldiggerpodcast.com for show notes and all the discount codes from today's sponsors. And if you're looking for a new crew of movers and shakers like you to bounce ideas and ask questions, be sure to join my exclusive community for Goal Diggers on Facebook. The link's waiting for you at goaldiggerpodcast.com.